When we think of what it means to live a long and healthy life, we often think about how modern medicine has given us a miracle. But is medicine and medical care directly responsible for improving our health and even extending our lives? Scientific research says no. John and Sonja McKinlay have argued that every culture rationalizes why illnesses and plagues come and go. For example, we think of witch doctors or medicine men telling a tale of how the gods were angry and then appeased.
What?
But when we simplify this relationship, it looks like this. There's a group of people who persuade others that they have the explanation for a phenomenon, and they may even claim responsibility for it.
I can read your mind.
This has led to self-interested individuals and groups denouncing threats to the status quo, like how physicians denounced midwives as witches during the Middle Ages. Today, biomedicine and health interventions, like through vaccines and medicines, are said to be the major reason for modern declines in mortality. But is this true? What would happen if we traveled back in time, specifically to a time when we didn't have antibiotics, vaccines, and other medicines? When we look at what the main influences were to declines in mortality, the data show that, looking at the fall in death rates for much of the 20th century, when we look at what the main influences were to the declines in mortality, medical interventions like through vaccines and antibiotics accounted for much less of the pie, only 10% compared to hygiene and improved nutrition. In fact, when we look at the time when treatments and vaccines were introduced, they usually happened after the fall in death rates of infectious diseases, indicating that these declines were due to social changes and not biomedical ones. In other words, nutrition matters more than simply having medicine. For example, one research study took place in Guatemala, which is a country that has the highest rates of malnutrition in the Americas. They found that malnourished children had more frequent and more severe infections, leading to death. The problem with using mortality rates is that people who die of malnutrition usually have some other condition that we often attribute to their death, like lung infections or intestinal diseases. In this study, different Mayan villages were given either nutritious food, medical care, or neither one to see which treatment would be most effective. At the end of the study, the community with the feeding program performed much better, having a lower mortality rate as well as less frequent and less severe infections than the other two communities. This information might make a lot of sense right now, but there was once a lot of pushback from the biomedical community about accepting this fact, mainly because these facts are taken as an attack on medicine. Furthermore, with antibiotic resistance on the rise, one can understand why the medical community wants people listening to their doctor's advice. But modern medicine speaks for itself. Despite the importance of a good diet and hygiene, modern medicine has contributed greatly to the eradication of things like polio and the treatment of sexually transmitted infections like syphilis that, if left untreated, can easily result in death. But more recently, the obesity epidemic has led us to quickly accept the important role of a healthy and adequate diet. Modern medicine will continue to help us push our life expectancies past what we thought was possible. But simply having the bare essentials like adequate food and a hygienic environment has done more for our health and can do more for the health of people around the world than medicine alone ever could. Thank you for watching this video. If you'd like to read more on this issue and the research available, click on these links where you can access free versions of these articles. And please be sure to subscribe if you'd like to see more videos on what social behavioral research is saying.